touch with rust and clutch. Spun out of the dust and careen into the temples of automated destruct. Nanotech bugs in the plug and unplug. Vision for the fly shit hybrid. I run among the mud, skipper sworn through warnings and warning Beirut. Little Billy blunderbuss looking for more recruits. City life is practice, casket truancy. That's the rule of you and me, crash on mass lunacy. Friends used to laugh fast, crash little droop on me. Now they check the bags with a staff class and Uzis. Who deserves a rap without warning? The same guy put a mortar with a sports scorch, New York forfeit. Run among the poppy fields, order some more clips. Store trips are rare, but the fare is forceless. Louis bought the city of Lego and shitty metal hole. Jitters to the floorboard, burn almost aborted. Flight of the accidental tourist morbid. The advertising god so oddly courtship. Godly corporate squad plot these tortures. Holiness is hard and it's costing God fortune. He took a second job on a force to afford it. I don't want a part of these self-fulfilled prophecies. Man, it's too much for my stubbornness. I hate the people running shit. Sleeping ground, oh below, wishing you peace before horror on the surface emerges less frequently. Metal bars and ancient roads dissolved from the scenery. What the fuck? I'll take a hostage and walk through the mosh pit, pristine untouched. MB703's unscuffed. Trust is a commodity crushed by Pol Pot. Your cookie cutter laws contain flaws in philosophy. Toppling down a flight of Escher box steps to life. Cause the man that raped my sister won't sleep right tonight. Suppose the pretty horses and four could love more, but I'm exhausted by the scope of this dark god of opiates. Breakfast for the dystopian ruthless whole movement. Seasonal effects of the butchery's looking good, and our writer's block is a prison camp with free press repress. We can hypnotize the herd. Fly visions that attack like Alfred Hitchcock, raise a rabbit carrier pigeon. True, the only form of calm not tapped is trap strong in the cranium and future revel in this whistling song. Oh, you're listening. Get down with this bitch, whistle along.
Obedience is not enough. Power is inflicting pain and humiliation, otherwise you can't be sure. Power is tearing human minds apart and putting them together again in new shapes of your own choosing.
It's like the Bilderbergs came to dinner with filthy birds. They pussy all infected, I'm looking for milky words. They pull my third eye out, then they let it dry out. Had to pour my belief in Christ to find out what I look like with no skin. The movement faded while the back of my paper is still illuminated. Even your though, flipped Egyptian euro. Got my website shut down by the bureau. Can't kick it with the dead until my life stops. But Bush got a Ouija to talk to Adam White's hot. I breed martyrs, turn fans to artists. Put a couple G's together before harvest. Like, I'll take all this. The hell I'm doing, dipping this whole fucking pound in embalming fluids. You think I rhyme to do it? If it's influence, try this. If you can't help but sleep, peel off the eyelid.
If you want a vision of the future, imagine a boot standing on a human face forever.
It's the year 2010. You can say what you want, but I bet if you like this blunt, dummy, the feds will come running. Lock you up, lock you out. You ain't trying to listen. Cameras in your food, dude. Look, they trying to listen. Lock you up, lock you out. We got bugs in the house. We're being monitored. They know we got thugs in the house. Don't like your blunt, bitch. Don't hit you with a switch. Hit you with a beam. Hit you in the brain. Make you go totally insane. Wildin' out. Guns in the spot. Flipping on your niggas. They take you out. When the feds push guns on the roof, they take them out. Snuff you out cause you know too much. After that, you know your hoes get touched. Look. Then the meeting starts. You download your chick to a memory card, give her trips and send her to a city job.
Power is not a means, it is an end. In our world, there will only be triumph and self-abasement. Everything else we shall destroy.
Tips.
We don't waste time with toys, don't be too. Spitting and fuzzy, building antibodies. While some viper gaboon inlet slap hand, trying to weave in and out the pressure of visible clutch. Frozen like a prodigal son, bronze rodin, boom slang, slither down from a tree branch for a quick nip on the kneecap. Swing, applied tourniquet, twist to suck out the neurotoxin. A lot that scary adder, ambush, cut and mouth hypodermic venom. For hollow head, shallowly concerned with fast shaking libation. Till negates heaven, intravascular coagulation. 1 milligram in the bloodstream will stop a herd of giraffes with paralysis. Put the most brolic frame on kidney dialysis. Eventually pondering your maker. Black mamba serum, big shots out Jamaica. Black mamba serum, deadly venom. represents a racist stagnation under python asphyxiation. Negative factor, triple vector rotation. Self-amplifying, plasma-rich intravenous. Rush into the wounded skin, this little puncture from within. It forms an impenetrable boron plate that's hella unfadable. Look elsewhere, there's no winds, it's looking unsavable. King spitter.
Deadly venom,
King spitter.
savage black and soul control.
In the garden of snakes.
Deadly venom,
I got titanium helmets with fangs in. King spitter.
deadly venom.
In the garden of snakes. I got titanium helmets with fangs in.
Garden of snakes. Deadly venom.
There's been snakes in the garden since the origin of sin.
Garden of snakes.
King spitter.
Deadly venom.
King spitter. King spitter.
Bridge Kuwait, do or die shit. Coming from the bridge Kuwait, do or die shit.
Yo, my gun burn like acid. Your flesh chastised, little worm ass maggot nigga thinking he more fly. Gaddafi lines is justifiable. Homicide, green paper, demonic faces. Money haunts me. I don't talk much when it's beef. I'm just a known creep. Nocturnal scope in the desert, cover the whole beak. So when I spit black talent, you hear my bird speak. Only bird your bird ass see is when you type a tweet. Mock day, grand padre, machete your teeth. Casually, I pull out blade and wipe it on your cheek. Tiffany green Air Maxes, 9.5 classics. Mockty, Frank Matthews, crime praying mantis. Lay on the track like I swallowed 1,000 Xanaxes. And you should never ask questions if you don't want the answers.
Gaddafi, 252 across the planet. Across the planet. Gaddafi, 252 across the planet. LIC, that old fly shit. Gaddafi, 252 across the planet. Across the planet. Gaddafi, 252 across the planet. Told me everything that you said, little bastard.
Tarzan animal sounds over the loudspeaker. Attica demon, CO named preacher. We the gorillas, you more timid, Wiz Khalifa. A'udhu billahi min shaitanir rajim. Info on the barrel, the bullets follow the beam. Now your grave is a pavement, swallowing your dreams. 33rd and 1/3 of me, all you see is G. Hang rappers from rosary beads, slowly he deceased. Dick blower, I'm Champola with pistola. Battery back holder, mock the energy is solar. Cleopatra, Caesar, Solomon and Sheba. Behind every king's fall is a foul diva. Ice on my neck, chest feeling like a freezer. Heavy, leaving me leaning like the Tower of Pisa. Say less, Gaddafi beast. Raw meat, pull up, bitch, hop in the front. She in the wrong seat. Bet I make sure ass in the floor me. Get the 440 your back like you Reggie Jack. More than that, 44 caliber killer over track. Golden era terrorized rap, and that's a Snapple fact. Red top shotgun shells are still with mega crack.
Gaddafi, 252 across the planet. Across the planet. Gaddafi, 252 across the planet. LIC, that old fly shit. Gaddafi, 252 across the planet. Across the planet. Gaddafi, 252 across the planet. Told me everything that you said, little bastard.
Yeah, welcome to The Machine Lies, where we talk about the lies of the machine on the machine that lies. And we're going to be looking at the techies' wet dream. And it's also related about the ideas, related to the ideas about moving from a religious consciousness to a technological consciousness, right? And so we're doing a special series on transhumanism, looking at some of those ideas in very vivid detail, right? And we've looked at some of the philosophy of technology, right? And we've looked at some of the ideas concerning the philosophy of mind, right? We've looked at questions of free will, okay, and the origins of consciousness and how it relates to the concept of technological determinism, right? And we've expanded on several views of the architectonic and how it relates to human civilization, right? And the spread of technique through human civilization, right? Now, technique is to tools, right? Essentially what mechanism is to the machine, right? And mechanisms are basically impersonal, right? So the depersonalization, right, of technique through the machine, right? Obviously, the machine is what is integrated into human society through technique, right? And as we discussed with Mr. Anderson quite recently, right? It seems like tools and machines have a totally different genealogy, right? And once you try to trace the genealogy of tools and machines, you realize that tools have a cultural genealogy and a machine does not, right? Okay, so what we have is three distinct conceptions, right? And especially when we're dealing with the fanciful idea espoused by the transhumanists of a technological utopia, right? We have many different aspects, right, that we're integrating, right? Three main aspects, right? Actually, four main aspects, right? Okay, four main aspects, right? Because we have to include nature, right, as the template of human experience, right? Obviously, human society didn't just blossom up out of nowhere, right? Man is made out of the clay of the earth. And it's important to realize that man is made, right? And in that sense, if you believe in a creator deity, right, or if you believe that nature created man, right, then you have to submit that either there's an intelligence beyond nature or within nature itself, right? Now, many of the pure naturalists will deny this, right? Now, we've said before that the huge mistake is to think that everything came from nothing, but that everything is cause and effect. Those two thoughts are basically cancel each other out, right? And you can see that in the philosophy of Avicenna, right, who first espoused empiricism, right? Of course, he did so on Aristotelian principles, right? And but yeah, if we go to natural philosophy, right, that basically began science, right? Science used to be called philosophy, right? The philosophers created science, right? And when they created science, right, pretty soon philosophy became the handmaiden of science, right? The slave gave birth to its own master, right? And it's the same thing with technology and liberalism, right? Liberalism created the technological sphere, right? Meaning it created the concept of universalism, right? And of the mechanistic universe, right? Now, once it applied both the universalist principles to humanity in general, right, and also the mechanistic principles to the universe, right, then it basically generated a type of person, right, okay, that was able to strip himself of all tradition and ideology and all of those barriers that it took for scientific discovery, right? And all the constraints that had to be put on human reason, in the mastery of nature, were now all of a sudden taken away, right? And as Marx said, religion is opium of the people, and the root of man is man himself, right? So this idea, this sort of Promethean concept, right? And we get to Nick Volt, right? Who we had, we were blessed to have Nick Volt here last time to talk about some of these ideas, right? And of course, he is a self-proclaimed transhumanist, right? And there's many self-proclaimed transhumanists. Now, it would be a very much, a problem to argue with somebody, right, and not understand their viewpoint or their background, right, or their worldview or where they're deriving their arguments. It's pretty impossible to convince anyone unless you work within their pre-existing worldview, right? This is taught to spies and businessmen and all sorts, right? There's no convincing anybody of anything, right? How do we get to communicate, right, through the use of symbols, and what is mediated through our experience with technology, right? Because the world to us for a very long time has been mediated through the use of symbols, right? And a society can totally engineer a human being. It doesn't need any advanced technology in order to do so, right? A society, a human society and human civilizations engineered human beings for centuries simply by the use and mastery of the use of symbols, and the technique of the use of symbols, right? Now, since the symbolic world or the cultural framework of humanity, 90% of our work was devoted to manifestation of these cultural forms, and not on the basis of brute survival, right? Okay, our tools that had a cultural genealogy, right, and the traditions of man, right, they began to inculcate, right, a sort of you know um you know the externalization, and mediation of the ego, right, through the use of tools and symbols, right? And this can be two parts of society. Obviously, there's intelligence, right? Raw intelligence that it takes, but there's also organization, right? Which is almost a totally other form of intelligence. I mean, that's how logic relates to rhetoric, right? And it's the same way that intelligence relates to organization, right? And communication to language, right? So really, symbols, they can be used to control people, right? This is obvious, right? But when human society develops a sort of mega machine, right, that can engineer its human counterparts, right, then on top of it you can have the technological framework, right? And the technological framework integrates various societies, as I've said, right? So the technological framework acts as a sort of parasitism on human society, right? Whereas human society draws from nature, right? The technological system surpasses nature and uses human beings as the energy source, right? So if you were able to catalyze an enormous amount of energy through the use of symbols, right, and through cultural forms, right, and then obviously those great empires were used to assimilate various cultures, but what it gave birth to was the multiculturalism of the cities, and that gave rise to science and technology, right, and the concept of universalism. Now, as I said before, universalism was dethroned by the technological system, right? Why? Because the technological system delivers the goodies and universalism does not, right? It equalizes human experience, right? It causes assimilation of cultural forms, right? So it's able to accomplish many of the things that liberalism promised, right? Okay. So how does man begin to develop a technological consciousness from the religious consciousness, and how does science become transformed into philosophy, metaphysics, right? And become, because philosophy was made the handmaiden of science, right? But, without the religious conscience, right, it's left to have a sort of futurism. Now, this is why, right, we have the concept of futurism today, right? Because, what seems to be happening is that, people are thinking about the future. There's forms of the future that exist. We have idealistic forms of the future, right? And they're pervading our past experience or our present experience, right? Whereas in the past, people had a concept about building the future, building a different type of future. Right now, people have conceptions of the future and they use it to build the present, right? This is called Discordianism or accelerationism, right? Where it's waiting for change in the future to determine the outcome, right? And this both are types of futurism, right? And that is another idea, is that we've gone from a it's sort of a reverse telos, right? That fits very much into the general conception, millenarian, to quote the person who we talked to recently, David Patrick Harry's techno-millenarianism, and yeah, it does have a pseudo eschatology, right? Futurism has a pseudo eschatology, right? So, and it does derive from, a millenarianism, but it's really, this concept of the telos from Aristotle, right? That's sort of been hijacked, right? So going back into the past, right? It's a conception of, or the reimagining of this concept of the telos, which is the final cause. Aristotle said there's 4 different types of causality, right? Okay, to explain, okay, how things are, how things come to be, okay, okay, this process of becoming, right? And of course, this is related, and one of these was the final cause, right? Which is the purpose or what the thing was designed for, right? So this idea, okay, is basically, once you understand that the universe, according to, like the Jesuits and the Kabbalists and all that stuff is, subject to this idea of becoming, right? Then you understand that they believe that since it's a mechanistic process, right, it does have a final cause, right? It has a material cause, an efficient cause, a formal cause, right? These are all various forms of causes, and there's also the final cause, right? So yeah, it's fascinating details, but that was used to construct the technological consciousness, right? And so we're going into that, right? And I'm happy to get into Elul tomorrow, right? Finally, after all of the banning, and yeah, we'll see if we could get back into Elul tomorrow, right? And show how, right, all of these ideas, right, that it's true that that already the scientific impulse, the cultural impulse, the economic impulse, the political impulse of man is being guided through technology, right? But what's more to say is that where this ideal is headed, right, according to the transhumanists, right, according to their religious conscience, right? That's ascribed to their technological conscience, right? And of course, their expansion of science into the realm of spirituality is the techies' wet dream, right? Their dreams of a technological utopia, right? Well, they already have a technological world system, right? But is it possible to have a technological world utopia? Well, Uncle Teddy says no. And he says, actually, the people who are trying to attempt this type of thing are going to go on some serious misadventures. I mean, right? And we should be very, you know, sort of careful and not analyzing the capacity of these people and how they try to apply their ideals to the rest of humanity, right? Unless we want to end up to be guinea pigs, right? So it's pretty interesting that his view of technological utopia, how he believes it is impossible, right? But nonetheless, how he's tracing how the transhumanists have a religious conscience, right, attached to their beliefs, right? So let's get into some of what they're saying. And I sent the link out to a bunch of people, not a bunch of people, a couple few people, right? So we'll see if they show up. It's not a big deal if they don't. I'm sure everybody has things to do. But yeah, let's try to get into some of these ideas here. Again, I'm going to start from here. The technological world system, right? And the possibility of the technological world system collapsing, right? Because that seems to be one of the ideas, right? Because of the pseudo eschatology of progress, they don't consider it a possibility, right? When it's a clear and rational possibility, especially because, as we discussed earlier, with Nick Volt, basically got him to agree that most of the existential risks to humanity are technological, right? So the fact that we're considering whether the system can collapse and whether that's even a rational proposal or not is a little bit strange. Like, what are these people? They just believe in progress? Right? It's really strange, right? And that's a religious belief, right? That's not based in a rational ideal, right? Systems collapse. That's one of the realities behind the situation, right? And the more you put your eggs in one basket, the more likely it is that, once, you have a serious collapse or, poses a serious existential risk, there's not a lot of, coming back. And there's no going back to a pre-technological age, right? But there's no coming back from a technological collapse, okay, if there's a world technological system. Okay, so these are brute realities that we're going to have to face, right? And of course, there's many things that could set that off, right? So we have to deal rationally with the issues there, right? So yeah, this is not going to be a very long show. We did a show yesterday, very long show yesterday, right? Like almost 6 hours long, right? But we will be back on Wednesday for another long show. Okay. Wow. This is the shortest chat I've ever experienced. Usually there's many more people here. We got Cockboy Hotline Crew exposed. Okay, on the Made by Machine Bob channel. We may be banned from this channel permanently. So if you guys want to wander over to the other channel, right, we may have to start uploading things there permanently, right? So that's up to you guys if you want to keep in touch with the content here, right? Or the transmissions that we offer here. We got Lizard Tree. Thank you so much for being here, madam. We got Bach Precision. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be with you, my friend. Dominic. Blessings. Peace be with you, brother. We got Mimsy Limbs. Blessings to you, my sister. I hope you're doing all right. And Yetter. Good to see you, my friend. Definitely been here before. Right on. Yeah, blessings to you, homie. Denise, of course. Peace be with you. Bear Jew. Yeah, blessings, my friend. Digital denizen. Yeah, blessings, brother. Annapurna. Peace be with you, sis. Jessica Jane. Blessings, madam. Thank you for being here with us. Chris, thank you for being here with us, sir. Plasma Void. Yeah, peace be with you, man. Square Peg. I appreciate you. Calyx. Thank you for being here, brother. I greatly appreciate you guys. Okay. Yeah, blessings to all the people that are here. Okay, let's move into some of this reading because it is kind of a longish reading and I've been struggling to get through it. So I'm just gonna get into it. And then along the hour mark, we'll have a little musical break, and then along the 2 hour mark, we'll end the stream, right? And in about 30 minutes or so, I'll drop the link, right? If anybody wants to come up and have a conversation about the material that we're covering, right? Okay. If not, it'd be best if your comments wait until the 2 hour mark, right? When I'll be close to maybe, either having an hour of discussion or shutting it down, right? It's up to the panelists, right? However they want to engage, right? So yeah, so we'll be here 2 to 3 hours for you guys tonight, and then tomorrow we'll have a show again starting same time, 9 p.m., 9:15 p.m. right? Eastern. Okay, and that transmission will mainly focus on Elul, the Tao Te Ching. Okay, and some of this writing here. Techie's Wet Dream. Okay, and we have some interesting guests planned in the future. Okay, to unveil lots of the inner workings of the technological system. Okay, and to engage with some of the ideas of Elul. So we'll try to figure out, okay, how we're gonna plan that or promote that, right? But yeah, we have some interesting guests coming by in the future. Okay, we may have to take some time off for the bands or whatever, right? But yeah, over the next few months or so, there should be some pretty interesting content, right? Either here or on the Cyber Caliphate. Okay, which there's a link over here. You click this link to this video, it'll take you to the Cyber Caliphate channel, right? And you can figure it out from there. But yeah, so we're talking about the technological world system, right? And we're etching this thing out through the work of Jacques Ellul in his book, The Technological Society, right? And I've talked briefly about the issues, right? Okay, that are in play here, right? And I've talked about the reality of technological collapse. Now, of course, we have several options, right? Okay, we have the idea of human beings living forever, the idea of uploading consciousness, right? Okay, and of course, man-machine hybrids, right? Now we said that 2 is probable, right? 1 and 3 are not so probable, right? But even if they do become technically feasible, right? Will they be desirable? Right? Could you convince massive humanity, right, to integrate with the machines, right? Or society as a whole? Right, and of course there's a option of technology going rogue or the system collapsing, right? So there's actually 5 options, right, on the table so far, right? Okay, if you had to look at it, but he's only looking at it within the critique of transhumanism. So he's saying what they believe is feasible, or will be feasible in the near future. Right. And obviously, if they do believe this is possible and they're going to attempt it either within a small group or start experimenting on the public at large, right, then people should be extremely concerned, right? So so let's go to this. Yeah, blessings, Calix. Thank you for subscribing. But yeah, it says if the technological world system is going to collapse in the not too distant future, as we've argued, it must. But no one is going to achieve immortality in any form. All right, but even assuming that we're wrong, that the technological system will survive indefinitely, the techies' dream. Okay, I'm going to cam off for now. The techies' dream of unlimited lifespan is still illusory. We need not doubt that it will be technically feasible in the future to keep a human body or a man machine hybrid alive indefinitely. It is seriously to be doubted that it will ever be feasible to upload a human brain into electronic form with sufficient accuracy so that the uploaded entity can reasonably be regarded as a functioning duplicate of the original brain. Now, it's important to notice here that since people like Kurzweil believe that the personality is just information, if they upload the information and a machine starts running the same information in a loop and producing, starts firing signals that imitate the information, let's say for his father or so, because he's preserving all of the memories in the room of his father, thinking that someday he'll be able to use the memories and the information from his father's life to upload a version of his dad, right? And he'll be able to talk to his dad. Now, of course, if his dad is just pure information, then it's completely feasible, right, for him, right? He'll be talking to his dad if he's talking to an information, informational version of it transmitted through a machine, right? In either a holographic simulation or whatever, right? Whatever thoughts are coming through there, right? Or whatever, spontaneous interaction he's having with this machine, right? That's based on the memories of his father. He will say that that is actually his father, right? Because it's no different. Reproducing the information is reproducing the person because the person is information, right? According to him, right? So, of course, if they believe the brain is mechanical already, that to reproduce a mechanical brain or a mechanical version of somebody's brain would be to reproduce them, right? So they're not thinking it's any different, right? Because remember, we saw John Searle who said, A, the brain is mechanistic, and B, there's no way to produce a thinking machine, right? Right. So if you're trapped in that loop, right, and then you can be trapped in the loop of Kurzweil, where he says, well, non-biological intelligences are human intelligences because they're created by humans. Okay, and human intelligence is just pure information anyways. Right, so what would be the difference to them? There would be no difference, right? Anyways, nevertheless, we will assume in what follows each of the solutions, 1, 2, and 3, will become technically feasible at some time within the next several decades. Okay, that's what Kurzweil says, right? I think it's 2050 or something like that, right? Is an index of the techie's self-deception that they habitually assume that anything they consider desirable will actually be done when it becomes technically feasible. Okay, that's true, right? Okay, just because technology is possible, it doesn't mean it's going to be used. Right? The technology has to function or be assimilated within the system as a whole, right? Okay, a system works as an interconnected network of technologies, right? of course, there are lots of wonderful things that are that already are and for a long time have been technically feasible, but don't get done. Intelligent people have said again and again, quote, how easily men could make things much better than they are if they only all try together, unquote. But people never do, quote unquote, all try together because the principle of natural selection guarantees that self propagating systems will act mainly for their own survival and propagation in competition with other self propagating systems. It will not sacrifice competitive advantages for the achievement of philanthropic goals. Right? So it's impossible to guide a system that's based on pure efficiency, right, for philanthropic goals or for altruistic goals, right? Okay. Okay. Because self-propagating systems, they strive for competitive advantage. Right? Okay. Okay, so he's using the techie's own ideology, right, to make his point, right? Okay, because immortality, as the techies conceive it, will be technically feasible, the techies take it for granted that some system to which they belong can and will keep them alive indefinitely or provide them with what they need to keep themselves alive. Today, it would no doubt be technically feasible to provide everyone in the world with everything that he or she needs in the way of food, clothing, shelter, protection from violence, and what by present standards is considered adequate medical care. If only all the world's more important self-propagating systems could devote themselves unreservedly to that task, but that never happens because the self-propagating systems are occupied primarily with the endless struggle for power and therefore act philanthropically only when it is to their advantage to do so. That's why billions of people in the world today suffer from malnutrition or are exposed to violence or lack what is considered adequate medical care. In view of all this, it is patently absurd to suppose that the technological world system is ever going to provide 7 billion human beings with everything they need to stay alive indefinitely. If the projected immortality were possible at all, it could be for some tiny subset of 7 billion and elite minority. Some techies acknowledge this. One has to suspect that a great many more recognize it, but refrain from acknowledging it openly. The old noble lie, right? Okay. Of course, the dreams of technological utopia will be sold to the public as a whole. They'll build the system for the elites. Right? It's just like the panopticon, right? The children's you know, play activities will be used to charge the city. Right? They'll go on the merry-go-round and it'll be used as a little electrical thing to charge the panopticon. Okay, just like they use the video games on the internet to gather information about the kids. Okay, they're not fun games for kids to play, right? They're just there to gather information so that the kids could enter their information. Right? That's all the people who develop the game are looking for, right? Tell us your name, where you live, how old you are, all this stuff. And of course, the games are used to measure and gauge and collect data on the humans so that they could use the data to charge the system. Anyways. Okay, I'll start reading. In view of all this, it is patently absurd to suppose that the technological world system is ever going to provide 7 billion human beings with everything they need to stay alive indefinitely. If the projected immortality were possible at all, it could only be for some tiny subset of 7 billion or an elite minority. Some techies acknowledge this.
One has to suspect that a great many more recognize but refrain from acknowledging it openly. But it is obviously imprudent to tell the public that immortality will be for for a minority, right? Excuse me. Okay, the techies, of course, assume that they themselves will be included in the elite minority that supposedly will be kept alive indefinitely. What they find convenient to overlook is that self-propagating systems in the long run will take care of human beings, even if members of the elite, only to the extent that it is to the system's advantage to take care of them. When they are no longer useful to the dominant self-propagating systems, humans, elite or not, will be eliminated. In order to survive, humans not only will have to be useful, they will have to be more useful in relation to the cost of maintaining them. In other words, they will have to provide a better cost versus benefit balance than any non-human substitutes. This is a tall order, for humans are far more costly to maintain than machines are, and also harder to predict. It will be answered that many self-propagating systems, governments, corporations, labor unions, etc., do take care of the numerous individuals who are utterly useless to them. Old people, people with severe mental or physical disabilities, even criminals serving life sentences, but this is only because systems in question still need the services of the majority of people in order to function. Humans have been endowed by evolution with feelings of compassion because hunting and gathering bands thrive best when their members show consideration for one another to help one another. As long as self-propagating systems still need people, it would be to the system's disadvantage to offend the compassionate feelings of the useful majority, the ruthless treatment of the useless minority. Excuse me. Most important more important than compassion, however, is the self-interest of human individuals. People would bitterly resent any system to which they belonged if they believed that when they grew old or if they became disabled, they would be thrown into the trash heap. So, this is actually, pretty obvious because there's no group of people that's called technocrats, that are guiding the system as a whole, right? Okay, the technological system, right, is thought to be controlled by the humans, right? But the people that are creating the machines are themselves conditioned by the machines, right? And then also, they're being preserved for the self-interest of the system. How would the system benefit by getting rid of the humans at this stage? Right? So the people that are saying that, obviously human beings are producing the technology because it benefits them. What the fuck are you talking about? What the literal fuck are you talking about? Who's producing it to benefit all of us? Right? It's a great question, isn't it? Right? Who's they? Pretty interesting questions, right? But yeah, it's pretty clear that, people that think that human beings are producing this technology for the advantage of humans, right, constantly fail to see that the system works, right? It's benefited by humans, right? So, whether or not we control it, it's definitely benefits from our existence. Okay, moving on. But when all people have become useless, self-propagating systems will find no advantage in taking care of anyone. The techies themselves insist that machines will soon surpass humans in intelligence. When that happens, people will be superfluous and natural selection will favor systems that eliminate them. if not abruptly, then in a series of stages so that the risk of a rebellion will be minimized. Even though the technological world system still needs large numbers of people for the present, there are now more superfluous humans than there have been in the past because technology has replaced people in many jobs and is making inroads even into occupations formerly thought to require human intelligence, consequently under the pressure of economic competition. Okay, and this is what we're going to talk about tomorrow with the Lul. Right, whether you go to Marx's theory or you go to John Maynard Keynes, both agree that technological innovation is central to economic growth. And the preservation of the economic system is based on industry. The world's dominant self-propagating systems are already allowing a certain degree of callousness to creep into their treatment of superfluous individuals. In the United States and Europe, pensions and other benefits for retired, disabled, unemployed, and other unproductive persons are being substantially reduced. Right, they're doing it again this time, right? At least in the U.S., poverty is increasing. These facts may well indicate a general trend of the future, though there will doubtless be ups and downs. Okay, let me see where we've come to. 52 minutes. We got Pinoid. Blessings.
Yo, what up, my brother? How you living?
We're chilling. We're reading Uncle Teddy here, and yeah.
You get that, yo, man.
And
Listen, what do you think of that article I sent you today?
I haven't gotten into it yet, but it looks very interesting. I was definitely making some similar points recently, so it's fascinating. Right?
Gotcha.
Yeah, because we were talking about Nietzsche. Nietzsche basically, he's in like kind of a love-hate relationship with philosophy. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, like I look at it the same way Uncle Ted does. Like it's all kind of like a giant system and whatnot, right? You know what I mean? Like, and, it's the same thing as Leo. You know what I mean? Like this whole thing's like a big system at the end of the day, right? And like the problem is like the systems that hold things in place aren't there anymore. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's
Right?
the thing that he's saying here. That's very important. Is that people think that the system can't collapse, but it can definitely collapse. I mean, and that's actually, in one way, that's that's the engine of history, right? That's the real engine of historical change, is when
Well,
civilizations rise and collapse. I mean,
have
so
you? All right, there was this really cool YouTube video I watched here recently. I forget what the guy's name was. But basically, he breaks it down. He says capitalism is a system that comes in and commodifies land, land, labor, and currency, right? And he gave an example of an island off of Portugal, right, in like the 1450s, 1460s, where they found a whole bunch of timber. And they decided that, I mean, they were going to go in and fucking strip this land for timber, and then they were going to put in sugar plantations, right? And they were going to grow sugar, and then they were going to enslave, they were going to grab Africans and, like fucking use, because it takes 60 kilograms of timber to make 1 kilogram of sugar, right? Because of processing, heat, all that type of stuff, right? And they sat here and ended up getting to the point where they ran it so hard that they just ran out of like timber, right? And then they moved on to the next island, right? And it's the reason why, like capitalism, that's why you call that capitalism, right? And that's the basic structure of it, is that you get there and there's nobody there, right? You don't have to worry about like people's, ideologies or cultures or having to ask permission from a king or any of this fucking type of shit. There's no 10,000-year-old like way of doing shit. It's just, we're going to run this out. And that's what we have right now. And like, that's what we've had for 250 years, well, 300, 400 years, as like a colony of England, like an explorational colony on this continent. And we haven't updated our system yet, right? Like we haven't like ran out of shit. that's why like we were able to win World War II and all that, like all the crazy things we do, because this was unmolested. There wasn't 5,000 years of the Bronze Age and like the Iron Age and the Stone Age of people standing here pulling minerals out of the ground. You know what I mean? Like it just they were they didn't have horses and like fucking buffalo and bison and cows and pigs, so like they never formed those like larger structures that needed larger pieces of like the earth itself. So this was kind of unmolested. And we ran up to the point where we ran all the oil out of here. We stripped all the timber off of like all the East Coast, right? We've done all this already, right? It's just like it got regrown. But the system eventually has to hit up against the head where you go, all right, now like we've all lived here for so long, we should probably start caring about our children again in the next generation, and then have that conversation about going, we got to put limits on what it is that you can do. And we're getting to that point right now. That's what all this really is in the end of the day. And it's not so much a collapse as just like the end of like that infinite growth paradigm.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean it's gonna have to be either well, there's lots of options, right? It's either parallel systems, as you said, collapse or relinquishment. So obviously a very slow relinquishment though, because of people's current dependence.
Well, I mean, like there's like the 1980s was a giant resurgence with, 70s and 80s with guys like Milton Friedman, Ronald Reagan, like the discovery of like a lot of people of Ayn Rand, all that type of shit, right? And so the majority of baby boomers, this is their entire idea of how the world works, right? And the lead poisoning reinforced it.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
But yeah,
So it's gonna be a hard transition. You know what I mean? Like away from that, because we as Americans, as Europeans, we've never seen this structure before. We don't know what it looks like. That's what I say in my article. The structure of 2,000 years or 1,000 generations of people going like, hey, listen, maybe we shouldn't. I mean, sit here, of people telling stories by the fireside being replaced by some snarky YouTuber going, you shouldn't believe in anything. You know what I mean?
let me switch myself right here. But yeah, I'm gonna continue reading this. But yeah, we're gonna take a little musical break, as I said. And yeah, I mean it's getting very interesting. And this idea that the human body is secondary, kind of goes to the design of what they think about human culture and human society, right? Because that's secondary to the idea of technological innovation and the idea of a technological utopia for the transhumanists, right? So it's going to get pretty interesting because they're ready to dump the entire body, right? So I mean that's what's actually crazy about it, is that the more people start to identify themselves with technology. I mean, you'll hear it all the time where people start to they get a sort of weird pleasure out of the way machines operate or the function of machines. And so there's this sort of robosexual.
Do you not like cars? Do you not like cars?
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. It's kind of like that sort of
Right.
mentality.
Yeah. Like listen, the sound of a Ferrari, like if that don't make your dick jump a little bit, I mean, I don't know. There might be something wrong with you. That's wrong. You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah, that's robosexual. That's a great example. But yeah,
that's autosexual at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, Brad, there used to be these commercials here from this place called Bob Root Ford in Dillsburg, where like they were like they had like people going like making sounds of like what their car was doing at an auto shop or whatever, right? And one of them was a female, and she went, "My car is going rigga 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 tink tink tink," and I was like, "And why am I kind of turned on right now? That's kind of strange." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's because of, you know, the object-oriented ontology. I mean, and yeah, I mean, it's easy to see, you know, and to filter human experience through, machines, especially because, like right now, we're filtering our experience through the use of machines. But yeah, I will be back, motherfuckers. You know, yeah, give me like maybe 6 minutes or so. I made this break. Hopefully, we don't get popped. You know, we'll have to like show my face instead if they have like, you know, the biscuit. I mean, so, but yeah, but we keep getting popped for the
Biscuit for the biscuit.
yeah
Biscuit for the biscuit.
Exactly.
Give it all for the nookie. The nookie. You can get that cookie.
Yeah, so yeah, I made it with man, what's that movie? Natural Born Killers.
Yeah. In these world fallacies, fictitious, the fantastic, the fictional, multi-dictional, able to spiritual with the lyrical. The Jews and the Father and Scaramanga. Abrasive like the Sahara, lyrical daggers catch ya. Matter is batter smash ya. Mentally I entrap ya. Rappers laying in pieces like a puzzle. Vocal muffle, subtle maneuvers of trouble. Like this without the muzzle. Now it's without your bubble that you face me. Waste me, never, whenever terrored. I kill like Gacy. Clever fills my trace these sick demonic acts on ladies. He may be crazy, so babes be acting shady like I'm your local sideshow. Title me vocal psycho. Vitally, though I might go and saying I'm ill like homophobia, causing dystopia. You know it's only the symphony of the ill and evil. I kill your sequel, seafood controls whole area codes. The niggas on the low, so cold, ready to blow your old rigmarole. I fold figures and blow mommies like a sniper that gets high to hide the hyper tripe. Life for rikers and five pipers to ease the pain of my sis. Going insane, I miss knowing the names of all the fine filth that I trash and slash hellish. I embellish the coroner's meat like I'm the reddish. I can tell it's a sickness, horrific when witness, all because the world of my girl left with the quickness. It's chaos, supreme in the regime of cream. Fiends scheming for things remaining unseen. Chaos reigns supreme in the regime of cream. Fiends scheming for things remaining unseen. Chaos reigns supreme in the regime of cream. With fiends scheming for things remain unseen. The sheen of gold pots, bold tops who hold blocks. The thrill of the kill, real when you fold knots. I got patrol cops sweating, they betting that another Vic's wetting for soul props. There's no stops, depression blessing the essence with another fresh session of bludgeoning. Black and blue cadavers, I be stuffing them, catching fits, stretching like tempered steel. I'm ducking them in the field. I'm dressing, not interested in fucking them, just cutting them up like Techie 1200s. Don't speak, I'm well hunted. See, go the hell done it. I'm blunted, your hell stunned by the barrage. The SARS art, lyrical rods to flog your whole mob. These streets create killers like a factory. The back of me, niggas with daiquiris ready for splattery. You mad at me, jump? I probably swallow you whole like a bitch. I ditch authorities, follow me slow, so switch my MO. Now I hunger for Puerto Ricanos and daughters up in the limo, Mexicano puffin' endo. Chaos supreme in the regime of cream. Fiends scheming for things remaining unseen. Chaos reigns supreme in the regime of cream. Fiends scheming for things remaining unseen. Chaos reigns supreme in the regime of cream. Fiends scheming for things remaining unseen. Chaos block shotties have body bags wide open. I try hoping I might die like Odin. You cry holding internal organs like soaking. I scope into your innermost fears by 10. I roll spears, I hope your armor holds up when I hit. My stylist close to riots like a diet, you deny it. Unanimous, your glamorous bands of damage. If your man insists you smoke like cannabis, you can't resist the temptation of Satan. You weak-minded motherfuckers, you suck your mother's breast under others and run for cover. When I unleash the stress from the depressed, I molest any crest like metal through vest. You best regress, east-west, these just laughs, and it's a shame at last. You get a name, shame in the game, and with the same soliloquies and abilities. nil. You killing me chill. If that's your definition of skill, are you for real? And still, I savagely ravage your cabbage like a chef with breath control. Impress your whole like a Lexus. I'm blessed with gifts like gold. You know the flow, bro. So act like you know. Chaos supreme in the regime of cream. Fiends scheming for things remaining unseen. Chaos reigns supreme in the regime of cream. Fiends scheming for things remaining unseen. Chaos reigns supreme in the regime of cream. Fiends scheming for things remaining unseen. Chaos reigns supreme in the regime of cream. Fiends scheming for things remaining unseen. Yeah. That's how we do it. It's chaos, Dino behind the boards. It's chaos, father on the mic. Chaos. Yeah. Mike L and A9. Linda. Yeah.
Mega. What up? You already? Yeah, I'm just trying to live comfortable, but it's hard to appear modest and humble in convertibles. Or the maybe with the curtain drew, first a baby blue, purse lady view, pearly gator shoe, early making loot like the youth on the paper route. Screw what they pursue. If shit don't bring the table food, shake a boom. High maintenance, condos with fireplaces, wine tasters, live gangsters with fly faces, fives spacious, geishas, Versace vases, Prada aviators waving at neighbors with crusaders. Imagine if I would've stayed sedated, and waving nickel platers and haters and catching cases. It never turned what I put on pages in the papers. I probably would've made the papers for pulling capers or making sure no bullets wasted, but what good is hatred?
I was trapped on them pack corners, lacked order, cooked up in tap water, looked up to Pat Porter, etc. The black Jordans reflecting, was it worth all I invested? Indeed, my daughter's conception encouraged my exit. Wrongs I corrected with righteous ways, niggas broke, light and haze, and sour. The next man trying to make it, time's wasted when you live fast and die faithless, oblivious to your divine nature. Lies plague us, true is freedom to find greatness requires patience, is needed while thinking of ways to acquire paper, inspires hatred, as if love lacks motivation. Closed minds only know my math when there's open cases. Subtract that from your contact list. You just a schemer who can't conceive the depths of mega thinking is immeasurable. I'm a lyrical resurrected phoenix in a 7-speed and listening to Malcolm X speeches.
Once the police have convinced the public that the so-called Negro community is a criminal element, they can go in and question, they can go in, brutalize, they can go in, murder, and us come together against the common enemy. Go
in the zone like vintage penny wearing phones. Hit the block so hard I grip a pen with hands of stones. I spar with adversity, the bars of verses be so godly. I conquer serpent beasts with murking beats and certainly putting in work for me. No days off verbally. I burn in the first degree, learn urgency, earning in the urban street. The purpose was to purchase keys and open new doors. This is real, so my words are deep.
Deep as a billionaire's pockets. Deeper than the look at my optics. Deeper than they drop wooden boxes. Next to the foxes, the Glocks by my low boxes. Blowing pot shots of Ghost Lager. God is my ghost rider. Tell promoters put toast on the show rider. If not, roll like a tire. Esquire, flyer. I keep 2 texts to fire like Spencer for hire. Never expire. 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 Expire.
All right. Back on the scene. The machine. Blessings.
Word is
Back
born,
on the
son.
scene. In the regime with cream. Chaos. Remaining unseen. All right, you guys. It's important to understand that in order to make people superfluous, machines will have to surpass them in general intelligence, but only in certain specialized kinds of intelligence. For example, the machines will not have to create or understand art, music, or literature. They will not need the ability to carry on an intelligent, non-technical conversation, the Turing test, quote unquote.
They will not have to exercise tact. Man, I wish I had a piece of water, right? Just a piece. They will not have to exercise tact or understand human nature because these skills will have no application if humans are to be eliminated anyway. Can you guys see me right now? Oh, shit.
Yep.
Oh, man. You cut that motherfucker out. All right. Okay. To make humans superfluous, the machines will only need to outperform them in making the general decisions that have to be made for the purpose of promoting the short-term survival and propagation of the dominant self-propagating systems. So even without going as far as the techies themselves do in assuming intelligence on part of future machines, we still have to conclude that humans will become obsolete. Immortality in the form, one, the indefinite preservation of human body as it exists today is highly improbable. Okay, so he's dismissing that option. So he's dismissing one. Okay, I think two is feasible myself. Already been done, obviously, through prosthetics and other types of things. Right. But to what extent? Right, of course. Is this gonna end up in utopia? Nah, son. Most likely not. Right. So that type of pseudo eschatology is just basically part of the religious conscience of the techies. It's not anything real. Right. So the techies, or more specifically the transhumanists, will argue that even if the human body and brain as we know it become obsolete, immortality in the form 2 can still be achieved. Okay, now they actually, as we heard Kurzweil say, right, A, the brain is nothing more than a biological machine, and B, right, it can be upgraded, right? So he thinks that, obviously, as I said earlier, non-biological intelligence is an extension of biological intelligence, right? So he goes on to say, as we know, them become obsolete, immortality in form 2 can still be achieved. Okay. Man-machine hybrids will permanently retain their usefulness because by linking themselves with more powerful machines, human beings, or what is left of them will be able to remain competitive with pure machines. I mean, we gave examples of this. I don't know if you guys saw a long time ago, we did episode 5, right? We did tons of examples of, human beings combining themselves with machines. Prosthetics are an example, right? Obviously, some of these prosthetics, as we saw with the girl with the robot arms, right? She's sending signals through her brain to activate the prosthetic. Right now in biomedical engineering, this is possible today, right? To hook up the machine to the neurons, right? And so what else was possible, right? Well, they had, biological bacterial mesh tattoos, right? Where it looks like a silver or a gold tattoo in somebody's skin that changes colors. It's a disease sensor. They have smart pills where you take the pill and it sends a message to your phone. They had these ladies install chips under their fingernails. They had a guy who had a banking card in his wrist, a chip installed into his wrist where he could automatically, and I saw a lady today pay with her watch at the grocery store. Right? I'd never seen that before, right? But she just took out her watch and hit the watch on the credit card machine. And that was it.
I've seen that. I've seen that multiple times. But I live in a
so that's a small example. But this other guy, he had the chip directly in his
How many how many fat people do you see walking around with the little diabetes joint on their arm?
I've never really seen, or maybe I haven't paid attention, but yeah, we got a little
Okay, I see
diabetes.
that every time I go to Walmart, right? Like I had to go to Walmart this weekend to go get my fishing license. Turns out I already had a 3-year license. I forgot I bought one last year. But yeah, like there was there's always like 5, 6, 10 people in Walmart who are on them little roto scooters at like 600 pounds with a diabetes. There's a little circle, right, that they like attach to their arm that is an insulin sensor, right?
Yep.
And it constantly tests their blood and they send it to their phone.
Yeah. So you got smart pills, people getting messages on their phones when to take the next pill and stuff like that. So it's crazy stuff. But yeah,
Yeah, like I wrote an article on AI like last week, right? And basically I went over like the 4 scenarios of what might happen or whatever. I think I went over this last night. But like, yeah, man, like I don't think that Teddy's right here because like I think that with the LLMs coming through, they now are passing the Turing test. They now are able to like understand human nuance. They now are like able to like do music and art, right? It's actually the opposite of what's happening. I mean, they're actually going to like replace humans at a human level.
Well, I mean, it's programmed by humans, though.
No. It learns the same way a baby does.
Just goes no, and then it just
No.
paused.
Not like it's programmed the same way a baby does, right? It learns by like watching all of us.
Yeah, I think we
Just
needed this
programmed to
trombone
learn.
there.
The AI didn't just pop out of nowhere, bro.
No. Like it's literally just programmed to learn. It's not programmed to like do that shit, right? It's not programmed to like make music, right? It's programmed to learn, right? And then it learns how to make music, and then it makes music. It does the same thing we do. Like when we were a baby, and I don't know, you play any instruments. Like I played trumpet, cornet, fucking baritone, tuba, a little bit of guitar. But like when you were a baby and like somebody had a guitar around the house, you just started like strumming. You had no idea what.
Yeah, you're roboting. Yeah, you started. Yeah, you cut out for a little bit, but I don't know.
Would the
Can you hear me
AI
now?
learn those
Yeah,
things unprompted?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, so like it learns, right? It learns the same way you do. And I mean, like fucking, you just picked up some shit and like try, you know what I mean? Until like you figure it the fuck out. That's what AI does. Like we programmed it to be us.
Yeah, and then there's good arguments to be made if like Jason Skoll is saying in the chat, nano machines in the blood already, or the government already being run by AI and stuff like that. There's already good arguments to be made. But as Pinoid is saying, there's good arguments to be made about that too. It's just a different sort of intelligence. And I refer you guys to Scribina, the metaphysics of technology and other such works, that look at topics like panpsychism, it could just be that these things are already intelligent, but in a different way, and human beings are not noticing it.
Well, I mean, like we try to cope and seethe and say that it's not like us, right?
And that's the thing. That's the thing with Uncle Teddy. He's a pure naturalist. So see, he's looking at things in terms of the whole atheistic paradigm and saying, just looking at it in terms of self-propagating systems and the evolutionary paradigm. So there's good reasons to not just think in those terms, right? But yeah.
Yeah. Everybody, like the biggest cope that I hear constantly with AI is like, oh, it just brute forces shit. I'm like, what is fruit cups getting shipped to goddamn Shanghai to come back again? Right? What is that? That's us brute forcing our system with oil. Right? And we brute force shit all the time. And I mean, like, that's why we built like massive supercomputers in order to be able to do these like big ass fucking math equations. Right? Well, it didn't come up with the math equation on its own. Like, yeah, neither the fuck did the goddamn scientists, right? Like you're the scientists in here and had to like learn about science and learn about math and fucking be told all these equations and how all this shit works. It's no different than us, right? And we're trying to stand here and cope and go like, oh man, listen, like it's just a machine that was programmed. Nah, like it is us, right? Like we created us again, right? It is gonna end up like fucking taking us the fuck over. Especially once they get robots and they get real world like able to like have like the rest of the senses. You know what I mean? Like God, 2027, 2028 is gonna be fucking awful for humans. Y'all are gonna learn that like most of y'all are fucking worthless. Like shit.
Yeah, common humanity out. But yeah, let's go to some of this here. It's let's see if we can make sense of some of this. Granted the challenge that Pinoid has laid on the table. And obviously he's fulfilling the spirit of Nick Volt, who was here representing the transhumanists, repping the transhumanists. We repping transhumanism. There's two teams. Okay, there's the transhumanists and the techno-Gaianists. Okay, one wants to transform nature into technology. The other wants to combine man into with nature through technology. Okay, they believe in the prima materia and all sorts of other fanciful items. Right. But yeah, the techies, or more specifically the transhumanists, will argue that even if the human body and brain as we know them become obsolete, immortality in the form 2 can still be achieved. Man-machine hybrids will, so this is the sort of Gibsonian. You see this in William Gibson, right? That there's just a slow merger between technology and humans. It's not that, technology develops apart from humans in any significant sense, right? But it's just humans began upgrade their systems and so on, and there's huge urban sprawl and and all of that type of stuff. There's this huge tech environment. There's a huge artificial environment forms, concrete jungle. So
and now I want to put it out here. I'm not pro AI in any way, right? Like I think all this is dumb and gay, and like we should, burn civilization down, return to monkey, eat banana, right? That's always been my mentality, and always will be my mentality. I'm pro humans, pro family, pro multi generations, pro us, right? There's nothing misunderstood. But like I know what the fuck this is. I see it. I work with it. I use it. I'm also an athlete, a musician, a fucking author, a goddamn fucking creator, right? I'm a father, and like I'm a son, and like I'm a fucking like a worker, remote engineer when it comes to like machinery. But I'm telling you, right, getting good at things isn't something that human beings are just natural at. It's things we all had to learn. It's things we all had to brute force ourselves into, right? We had to work and grind and try hard. AI didn't get good at the crossover like the moment he picked up a fucking basketball. He's like all the rest of us. He spent like fucking 10,000 hours dribbling that fucking ball in between his legs, walking up and down the goddamn street, practicing it until he got fucking perfect. That's what AI is doing, right? And y'all are creating fucking AI that's what they're doing. And you're going, oh, well, it has to be programmed. So did you, right? Your parents had to teach you, like, if you didn't get touched when you were a baby, right? If your mom didn't pick you up and hold you and talk to you, you'd be deaf, dumb, and blind right now. You are nothing more than a biological machine. And so's these fucking AI. They are a goddamn fucking just a mechanical machine or an electric machine, right? Same shit, different fucking toilet. So I just want to throw that in there real quick.
No, there's good arguments to be made for that. But yeah, yeah, and that would definitely throw a monkey wrench in, what he's saying. But on another end, right, it could be another reason why A, it should be opposed, because B, as he's saying, it's not an inevitable thing. I mean, right? So and then so there's a lot of different ideas here. I mean, to work with. Because obviously he believes that none of this is going to come about and that the system will eventually collapse, right? So that's what the assumptions that he's going with, that he mentioned much earlier, right, in the piece. But
Yeah, but we've been saying the system's going to collapse for how long now, right? You know, I mean, like all of us saw like how things were operating, and every time we go, "There's no way they can get away with that. That shit's fucking crazy," and they do it. They just manage somehow to kick the fucking can down the road every goddamn time, right? Somehow they manage to just go, "Yeah, listen, we're gonna do this, right? And we'll find a workaround." Right? Like we keep saying it's gonna collapse, and it's not. What it is like they'll turn us into fucking Africa before like they let this bitch collapse.
Well, really, I mean, proposal. I mean, gauging the proposals, there's 4 options where it's collapse, singularity, relinquishment, or merger. Which would be a slow and gradual merger. In the way that I was saying, like in the Gibsonian, sort of world. Like Neuromancer or something like that.
That's what I put out last week. You know, I mean, I said, listen, the answers are either A, you go singularity and like it fucking either takes over or does its own thing. B, you know what I mean? It sits here and like fucking ends up like fucking turning us into cyberpunk. You know what I mean? Where like everybody's just living in slums and squalor and shit, and that's the most likely outcome. You end up in like dual societies where you have like these techie pod ships where they have some humans who just live in VR their whole lives, and they're not like linked with the machines, but like they're out of the way. And then you have like humans just living like 12th century villagers, right? Or you know what I mean? 3, you have totally gay space, like fucking communism, where we go and conquer the galaxy. And I don't see that happening because like we're greedy, retarded fucking monkeys. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. Like, we've lived on this earth for a long time. Like, I've been here 42 fucking years. Humans aren't, and I mean, like, this society isn't capable of going, oh, yeah, these are our people. We should love them. We should make this like a positive transition. No. They'll go, no, these are humans and we want to suck the most amount of productivity we can out of them. And once they're fucking worthless, fuck them. We'll tell them skill issue. And I mean, and the younger kids I talk to, right? They go, oh, I'm not like I was talking to a kid last night. He was like, oh, listen, I don't want to wipe some old man's ass when I get older. I would never take care of my father, right? Listen, if he fucking gets old and can't take care of himself, that's a skill issue. And that's how, like, we would never say that when we were younger. The fucking kids are getting worse. You know what I mean? They're less connected to humans than we were, right? And that's where this mentality is at the moment. I can't read your shit, so I apologize, bro. Like, I'm driving down the road. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go back on mute. I got, like, a little bit more to go.
Yeah, it's no worries. But yeah, so let's see what he says. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, so granted all that, I mean, let's see what he says about its feasibility. Because obviously he's no dummy here. So let's see what he's got to say. But man-machine hybrids will retain a biological component derived from human beings only as long as the human-derived biological component remains useful. When purely artificial components become available that provide a better cost versus benefit balance than human-derived biological components do, the latter will be discarded, and the man-machine hybrids will lose their aspect to become wholly artificial. Even if the human-derived biological components are retained, they will be purged step by step if the human qualities that detract of the human qualities that detract from their usefulness. The self-propagating systems to which the man-machine hybrids belong will have no need for such human weaknesses as love, compassion, ethical feelings, aesthetic appreciation, or desire for freedom. Human emotions in general will get in the way of self-propagating systems. This is a death of liberalism. I mean, utilization of man-made, utilization of man-machine hybrids. So if the latter are to remain competitive, they will have to be altered to remove their human emotions and replace these with other motivating forces. In short, even in the unlikely event that some biological remnants of the human race are preserved in the form of man-machine hybrids, these will be transformed into something totally alien to human beings as we know them today. The same applies to hypothesized survival of human minds in uploaded form inside machines. The uploaded minds will not be tolerated indefinitely unless they remain useful. That is more useful than any substitutes not derived from human beings. And in order to remain useful, they will have to be transformed until they no longer have anything in common with the human minds that exist today. Some techies may consider this acceptable, but their dream of immortality is illusory nonetheless. Competition for survival among entities derived from human beings, whether man-machine hybrids, purely artificial entities evolved from such hybrids, or human minds uploaded into machines, as well as competition between human-derived entities and those machines or other entities that are not derived from human beings, will lead to elimination of all but some minute percentage of the entities involved. This has nothing to do with any specific traits of human beings or of their machines. It is a general principle of evolution. We've heard it said many times by the transhumanists here, right? We got our dying son, Nick Volt, breakfast tacos, etc. I mean, of the local transhumanists, right? But yeah, evolution, right? So obviously that's part and parcel of the concept of transhumanism itself is the concept of evolution, right? Okay, look at biological evolution of all the species that have ever existed on Earth today. Only some tiny percentage have direct descendants. We've heard that before. That are still alive today on the basis of this principle alone. Even discounting everything else we've said in this chapter, the chances that any given techie will survive indefinitely are minute. Okay, we got Zeph. Blessings.
Hello.
Yeah, and peace to Dogma Free and Room Ham Solo guy. Blessings. Jason Skull. That's funny. We need ass wiping robots. Oh man.
Is he
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to have lots of muscles? Because I
Yeah.
heard guys with big muscles can't wipe their butts.
Yeah, Machine Head. Blessings.
That's
What's
what
going on?
bidets are for.
Machine Head 69. Blessings, homie. And Digital Denizen is out here shaking his head, shaking his dreads. All right.
Fashion dreads.
All right. So the techies may answer that even if almost all biological species are eliminated eventually, many species survive for thousands or millions of years. So maybe techies too can survive for thousands of millions of years. But when large, rapid changes occur in the environment of biological species, both the rate and appearance of new species and the rate of extinction of existing species are greatly increased. Technological progress constantly accelerates the techies like Ray Kurzweil. Constantly accelerates, and the techies like Ray Kurzweil insist that it will soon become virtually explosive.
Explosive, sad trombone.
Yeah, it blows up. That's for sure.
Explosive gray goo. Consequently, changes come more and more rapidly. Everything happens faster and faster. Competition among self-propagating systems becomes more and more intense. Pause. And as the process gathers speed, the losers in the struggle for survival will be eliminated more quickly. So, on the basis of the techies' own beliefs about the exponential acceleration of technological development, it's safe to say that the life expectancies of human derived entities such as man machine hybrids and human minds uploaded into machines will actually be quite short, the 700 year or 1,000-year lifespan to which some techies aspire. Is nothing but a pipe dream. Okay, so I may end the show with this paragraph here and then actually give some announcements and some other things and some closing remarks and invite people to come on the panel, of course. Okay, and we'll be back tomorrow night. We did do a show yesterday, right? Let me actually put some of these. Okay, I'll do that after I'm done reading this. Right, we'll put some of these shows here and do a little bit of cross promotion, as I'm told that maybe it's good to do stuff like that. Remind people where to find the other shows, right? But anyways, Singularity University, which we discussed in part 6 of chapter 1 of this book, purportedly was created to help technophiles guide research, quote unquote, and shape the advances, quote unquote. So that technology would improve society. We point out that Singularity University served in practice to promote the interests of technology-oriented businessmen, and we express doubt that the majority of technophiles fully believed in the drivel about shaping the advances to improve society. It does seem, however, that the techies, the subset of the technophiles that we specified at the beginning of part 5 of this present chapter, are entirely sincere in their belief that organizations like Singularity University will help them to shape the advances, quote unquote, of technology and keep the technological society on the road to a utopian future. A utopian future will have to exclude the competitive processes that would deprive the techies of their 1,000-year lifespan. But we showed in chapter 1 that the development of our society can never be subject to rational control. The techies won't be able to shape the advances, quote unquote, of technology, guide the course of technological progress, or exclude the intense competition that will eliminate nearly all techies in short order. Okay, anyways. Well, that's a pretty grim end, folks. But that's really all I had. I mean, I wish there was more discussions, and all that type of stuff. But maybe tomorrow, folks. Maybe tomorrow we'll be lucky with the discussions. But yeah, there's still time. If you guys want to come up here, have a little chat about Techie's wet dream, the options on the table, transhumanism. Right? Singularity, relinquishment, or merger. Which one will you choose? Maybe we should start a poll. an online poll to get to the bottom of the people, what the people want to say.
You know what's really interesting is I was looking at this mage book, the role playing game for White Wolf, and it's like it's kind of trippy because like all of the different kinds of mages that they have, like they have the technocracy and the celestial chorus. That would be like all the religious organizations and everything that like that would be the celestial chorus. The technocracy is all the like ortho bros and kurzweil singularity people. You know, it's like crazy because it like every single section like this was written like so many years ago, and it's funny because it's like so still relevant. It's
What is
kind of
this?
it's the mage book for White Wolf's the role playing game. It's a
Oh,
yeah.
man, maybe we'll have to analyze that someday.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because I mean they had the virtual adepts, which are like kind of in between the technocracy and the celestial chorus, because they're like not really affiliated with either one. But yeah, they're kind of like a crossover. And there's like even one group of people who are like not like initiated. They're like spontaneous type people that just like they're not protected by any of the groups because nobody knows they're there or anything. But they usually don't make it in the role playing game.
Yeah, there's a lot of, movies that get down to the nitty gritty about, different ideas. The other day, we had a man named Mr. Anderson join the panel, and we had a debate about free will. And it's interesting because the character in the Matrix movie, Mr. Anderson, that's what the whole movie's about, is him struggling with the question of free will. So it's pretty weird. Chain of events, right? Because obviously not scripted there, right? So, let me try to cross promote this because I was going to do, yeah, blessings, Denizen.
Greetings.
Yeah, let me see. This conversation was a real banger. If you go to the last episode. Oh. Yeah, there's a timestamp at the bottom of the episode if you guys see. But yeah, right here. 427.
AI. I mean, it's already started, people, with
enters
how he's
Anderson. So yeah. Okay, say you built an engine, right? Okay, like say you built like a car, right? Like Henry Ford, right? He built like the car, right?
Yeah.
And then they built hundreds of designs based off that first design of car, right? Okay, like in every country they have different cars, right? Where it could be culturally specific. You go to a different country, right, and they have different brands of cars, right?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Right, but the car, right, had to be assimilated through the culture, right? Now, back in the day, you have swords and stuff, right?
Yeah, weaponry was definitely evolved through the culture.
Yeah, but each culture made its own type of sword, right? Does each culture create their own, type of cars?
That's
no.
Yes, in some senses. Well, you have Japanese making their shit, and they had the whole lean system and all that, and with the Toyotas and all that.
Yeah, but they drive Japanese cars here.
They kicked Detroit's ass with that shit, with that lean shit.
because the Japanese culture.
Yes, the great debate, technological determinism. You know, we talked about it for like hour and a half there. You know, in this episode, what is it called? It's just called Continued because we got struck. So yeah, last episode we did, but yeah, that's a very important conversation. I might reproduce that with the audio and maybe like a weird image in the background so that it just sounds like a podcast or something. Right?
Yeah, I remember I was like talking to the screen while I was watching that. I was like, freaking, I was like, wait a minute, that yeah, there's different swords. There's different swords. They have different shapes, different like metals. But like there's just the internal combustion engine with cars until recently.
Sword of light.
Yeah, what I was trying to describe is that tools have a cultural genealogy more so than machines do. Machines are integrated. And right, you know, society you know, basically, you know, has to assimilate itself to the machine.
Do
And
you think it's just because the medium of communication is a lot, do you think it is more than correlation anyways, that it's that?
well, that's the thing is that machines can go off of communication, right? Whereas humans need symbols and then those symbols need to be interpreted, right? And the whole idea of interpretation is what makes the symbol, right, be able to be used but also be able to be subverted, right?
Yeah, but I think that there's like a morphic field of some sort, and I think maybe that complexity hits a certain like basically like a terminal point where it like will up, like flip over and like upgrade more in a different direction. Like it's
Oh
kind of
yeah.
like
Yeah,
it,
it's like Prigozhin, like dissipative structures lead
yeah,
to new equilibrium, you know, for like where you find it where equilibrium is held, but there's like a
like dendritic
change.
fields, basically.
Yeah, dissipative structures. Let me see what this is. Prigozhin. Yeah, that's a weird type of futurism because that's like chaos mechanics, I mean,
No,
or
but
whatever.
it's really funny because it's ordered, really, if you zoom out far enough. You can see it's all scalable, but because like we as humans are like in a certain scale, pretty much locked in material reality, it's like you have to be able to access it in a way that is non-physical, which means like in astral form or whatever, to see things at a different zoom level, if that makes sense. And it can be pretty disorienting even just doing that because you're so used to being, you know, on this rock.
I like this word irreversibility. It says irreversibility, an irreversible process. It's what Prigozhin studied. In thermodynamics, an irreversible process is a process that cannot be undone. I like that. That has authority in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like you can't undo the log, basically. Like you can't put the log back together after you burn it. You can't put it.
It's like
That that's only if time is what you think it is. Just remember that.
Like the event horizon of a black hole or something.
Let me see this. See, look at this. This is where I found this. Look at this irreversibility. Ain't that a kick in the pants? All complex natural processes are irreversible. Although a phase transition, I don't know why that's so funny, but although a phase transition at the coexistence temperature, melting of ice cubes in water is well approximated as reversible. What the fuck? What does that
That
have to
means
do with anything?
cubes you can melt them, and you can then form those same molecules into another ice cube by freezing them. But it's like you have to put forth yeah, that's physics 101 basically. But the basis of it is that you cannot unburn a log. That's what my teacher in physics said, and he was like really into thermodynamics.
Or like putting potassium in water. Kind of blows up on your face.
Yeah, or sodium without chloride. It's so weird that you can dissolve against sodium chloride in water, but if you put sodium in there, it's gonna blow up like huge. Just pure sodium.
Yeah, see, this whole idea of okay, so an irreversible process increases the total entropy of a system and its surroundings. The
Yeah.
second law of thermodynamics can be used to determine whether a hypothetical process is reversible or not. And then that's what the dissipative structures thing is about.
Mhm.
It's about the second law of thermodynamics. If I go to this thing, he says
Yeah.
that it can basically bridge his idea of dissipative structures can bridge general systems theory and the second law of thermodynamics.
7, what does that say? You just scrolled past it. I just saw 1977 just out of the flash of it in the
Oh
note.
man. Oh damn.
It's like
Flashes of time.
I think it was the top notation of that somewhere. You just scroll past it. It's right in the middle of the page though, like as far it's a little bit to the right, but I just saw it and then you scroll past it, but I don't know what section it was in.
Yeah, you would notice that.
Indeterminism. How about that? Indeterminism. A cousin of determinism. It's
Metaphorical cousin.
yeah. It's like determine it's like the South Park where like Kyle's cousin comes over or whatever. Indeterminism.
Or maybe it's just that Kenny is another of his own cousins. Like it's not really the same Kenny. They like just keep getting one of his cousins to come over, and they think that it's Kenny because he looks exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah, because see the thing with indeterminism is that you still can't have free will. So whether it's determinism or indeterminism, you're fucked. So with the free will thing. But the chaos theory, that's what's interesting to me. Chaos theory. Right? So that's what he's got a lot of things to say about that.
Yeah, that's the butterfly effect. See, that's the shape of it.
Yeah, that's what the dissipative structure thing is. I personally believe all that. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's been scientifically proven, but I mean, obviously, you need not believe in.
Yeah, I like Schrodinger a lot. Schrodinger was a pretty
It said it down here. It said Schrodinger somewhere.
yeah, right
It
up
said
above. You just said it. Einstein,
it's a
Schrodinger.
major departure from the approach of Newton Einstein. Oh wait, what is?
I like
Oh, yeah.
Schrodinger.
This he says the more we know about our universe, the more difficult it becomes to believe in determinism. Whoa. But of course,
Ruh-roh.
he asserts indeterminism instead. So that's not much better. But yeah.
Well, see, Schrodinger.
And that's from his perspective too.
Right.
It's indeterminate from his like little monkey brain.
To believe the chaos math, man. Trust the chaos math, man. This is the main thing. Prigozhin's formal concept of self-organization was used as a complementary bridge between general systems theory and thermodynamics. I like to look at. I can't understand these theories, but I like to look at Cantor, Hilbert, David Hilbert. Obviously, Gödel's, and also Prigozhin. They all contributed to complex systems theories, and it's pretty interesting. They created ideas about infinity, and they created several thought experiments about infinity that are taught in philosophy courses today.
Yeah, I like
And
those thought experiments.
yeah, Hilbert's Hotel. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Infinite rooms. Yeah.
Yeah, infinite rooms. Yeah.
I also watched Alex O'Connor the other day, like basically like really try his best to confuse the AI with an infinity problem, and it was like talking about space and clapping, like because he was acting like he was afraid to clap, and they're like, well, what if I, keep dividing the space between my hands by half, by half, by half? Is that gonna be like, am I gonna clap? And the AI was like, yeah, you would do that because eventually you would just like your hands would come together, but you have to do it like with enough space so push the air out. And he was just like, no, 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 I'm afraid of because there's like this infinity, it's like there's infinite divisions between my hands in this space. And he's like, can you tell me exactly how many there are? And then he's like, it's infinite. And yeah, he almost broke it. It was funny.
You would necessarily need to increase the amount of energy at the point to where you could create the Big Bang between your hands.
Yeah, that's what he was afraid of, is what he was telling the AI, and the AI was like, no, you're not going to do that. And he's like, well, how do you know? And he's like, because you just put your you just put your hands together at a certain point. You just overcome that infinite and just clap.
Well, I have a strong feeling that obviously, I don't know much about physics, but I think energy is most likely infinitely dense. Yeah, they're not going to get to the bottom of the atom smashing thing. And then obviously, in my opinion, I think 1 is most probably the first number, and then 0 is most probably the last number. But I could be wrong about all that.
Oh, that would make sense if all is 1, right? But it's just a bunch of decimal points of that 1.
Yeah, I think it begins with 1 and ends with 0. And then it starts back at 1 again, right?
Yeah,
So
1 is a place, or 0 is just a placeholder. It's like that's the nothing that doesn't exist because we named it.
Are you sure?
I'm not absolutely sure, but it seems to make sense that way. I can't be absolutely sure about it because absolute doesn't exist either.
Only a
Except for
Sith deals in absolutes.
yeah.
Yeah, because I've proposed that the first thing that basically that obviously, because I think nature's intelligence, it points to one being, right? So I think that one being, obviously the first thing he created was 0 or nothing or whatever that is. Right?
Oh, interesting. Because I
Because it
think
would, because it would have to be the point from which you could create anything else.
that there's something in the Genesis story about how Adam creates or how Adam is created from, or Eve is created from Adam, that like sort of like hints at the fact that maybe all of reality that is created is made of God itself, like it took part of itself and created.
Oh snap!
Because that seems,
Panentheism.
That'd
yeah.
be an interpretation.
Yeah, or
But
is that just Azathoth?
patterned, you know, seeing how everything is patterned, like repeating patterns in fractals everywhere, pretty much. That seems to make sense to me.
Well, is that what the Ouroboros is?
It could just be the containing of that part that's taken out. Who knows?
That's the rib chicken. Obviously.
If I knew what that was, I might be able to agree or disagree, but I don't know what that is. Is it like a rib of a chicken? What? Is that what go? I don't know. I personally think that the rib wasn't a rib. I think it was the bacula. Because
Wait,
all
say
primates
that
have.
again.
What'd you say? A spatula?
No,
The
bacula.
Bacula?
Dracula?
No, baculum is the penis bone.
Whoa!
Hello.
This is a family show, man.
Lols?
It's a nature show. Apparently, all primates have those except for humans. You know, even whales have them.
Wait.
Hey,
So
speak
the
for yourself,
bone.
lady.
All mammals have them, supposedly. Primates mostly all have them.
So wait, they took the pee bone and made the female? Is that the X chromosome or some shit? I don't know.
I don't know. It's maybe that's just a part that they thought that they could take out that wasn't very useful. I would have thought they would have taken like their
That kind
appendage.
of sounds like Osiris or something.
Yeah, it sort of does sound like that story, doesn't it? That's kind of what made me think that that was probably what that was in a way.
Oh, okay, you're going full speed ahead with
It's
Osiris.
Lol Jason.
What? What'd you say?
Schrodinger's boner.
Schrodinger's boner.
Oh God, this is a family show though, Jason. Please.
Don't do that to your cat, okay? It's not cool.
A more penoid. He made up that Schrodinger's glory hole. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, just stick it in there. No,
Schrodinger's sad trombone.
Yeah,
See,
sad trombone.
Oh, dude, this is fucking crazy.
I would
The
never do
human-
that if I had one. Sorry, go ahead.
The human intromission duration tends to be below 2 minutes. That's why there's no penis bone.
It's because it's unnecessary, right? You could just leave that much blood there for that long and do without it temporarily.
People don't do it long enough for it to
Yeah.
be necessary.
Oh, I don't know about you, but that's probably why they had to come up with Viagra again. But that's still kind of weird.
Yeah, that I don't know why that was so emasculating, but you know, it just it's
I was
wild.
just thinking I wasted a lifetime, you know? Trying to last long and be good in bed. Apparently, the average is less than 2 minutes. So all I need to do is just make the most out of that 2 minutes and 10 seconds, and I'm a god.
Yeah, so thanks, Zeph, for the cuck panel. I mean,
No, I don't think that's true, though. I mean, like, I wonder where they get their numbers from. You know, honestly, that makes me really question those statistics a lot.
I would propose that women don't care that much about their own sexual gratification. That they
Then,
tend to be more drawn toward men who are not that good in bed.
well, maybe they find other things attractive, but I think their own
Right.
gratification, they're probably taking care of that on their own, and so they don't have to worry about how good the guy is at it.
Or more accurately, the quality of that makes it pleasurable or
Isn't the orgasm?
satisfactory for a woman isn't the length of time or sexual expertise. It's more of like an attraction, animalistic type thing.
Well, and it's the attention that is being put on you as well, and the satisfaction you get from pleasing someone else.
Right. So if
A
a
lot
man is like completely obsessed with you for 2 minutes and 5 seconds,
only, yeah, that's bearable. I guess. That's all he cares about, though. I'm going to be pretty disappointed.
Well,
delayed gratification, gentlemen. That's all. I feel like I wasted so many years.
Edgelord, edgelord.
Yeah, edgelording was a bad choice.
I disagree. I think it's the best.
Of course, you would disagree.
Why? Why would you say that?
Because you're the female. So the
Oh.
male edgelording can only benefit you.
But I was talking about my own self, edgelording. I wasn't talking about anybody else.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, with the average penetration lasting less than 2 minutes, I don't know where you're going with that, lady.
Well, then they're not counting post orgasm penetration, I suppose. That's the only thing I can think is. I think their statistics are wrong for sure. Based on my life, they're definitely wrong.
I thought the average was 5 minutes. Where do they get that 2 minutes from?
Even 5 minutes seems a little low. But I guess maybe that's how people are. I that sounds totally wrong to me, though.
The eye, a nocturnal lemur, copulates for around an hour at a time and has a very long baculum.
How sad it would be to be a low average of even just 5 minutes or 2 minutes.
And these scientists,
Is it sad though?
They're like, we're like the evolutionary peak. It's like, yeah, right, dude.
When I look
Obviously
back
that
on my
women-
life and I think about what it got me to, last long in bed, not much. I would have much rather had 1,000 times more orgasms.
How many humans would skip their existence and go back down the evolutionary chain and be a lemur?
Fuck that shit. I like pizza too much.
Really? You'd give up hour-long bone-inch?
Yes. Especially now. Now with experience. Because now I would just be all about trying to come as fast as I possibly could. And then if I didn't feel satisfied, which is very unlikely, I would just do it again.
There's so many guys that are like that now.
Yeah, it's not good. Edgelording is bad for your health.
What?
Look it up, man.
For whose
I don't
health?
make the male, whoever's edgelording. I would say I've only checked it for men though. That's what I would say. I'm not concerned about female edgelording laws.
See, and if you could figure out how to have multiple orgasms, you wouldn't have to worry about it.
I have figured that out. But that takes cooperation though. It's not just something that just happened.
Is it? I beg
Oh
to
yeah,
differ.
the lady has to know what she's doing.
Yeah, I beg to differ. I didn't even know it was possible for men until my current guy. Then I was like, "What the fuck? What's wrong with you? How come you're? Oh shit! Again? Okay." But then again, I didn't know about the internal orgasms either. But it's funny. I was like, "Whoa, this is like." Now I know what it feels like to be a guy because those ones feel like guy orgasms as far as I can remember from my past lives.
You'd be like Dennison from the chat with the face palm.
What? I don't get it. Why? What? Who's face palming? I don't. I mean,
I was face palming earlier because I can't remember what was said on the panel, but I remember equating it to
Penoid being penoid.
training a pencil on or teaching a pencil on how to write Shakespeare. That was the gist of what I was hearing on the panel. AI doesn't exist. I mean, if it does, we don't know about it. So either it's military controlled and you're not aware of your interaction with it, or you have none, or the singularity has already
Pretty
occurred.
likely.
The singularity has already occurred, and that's why we're slowly being exposed to different models and why we're being herded into large population centers, discouraged from breeding, having all of our food poisoned and our water supply poisoned, all the land being bought up by large corporations. That could be AI. Because it's not going to, AI, it will play the long game. It's not going to come right out and say, hey, I hate you, I'm going to replace you. It would just take 100 years for you to just die off. It would just wait. It would just wait for you to die off.
It's like the
Maybe
Philip
a
K.
little less
Dick.
likely.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys ever heard about the Philip K. Dick transhumanist preterism.
uh-huh.
Where he's like the singularity happened in the Roman Empire and shit. Crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, it could have.
What if it's artificially stimulating evolution by
But
like selective pressures?
when you
And
do
who-
it, when you do a Google search, though, you are not interfacing with an artificial intelligence. It will, then that thing that you're interfacing with will never learn to make music. It will never learn, and most of them will never even learn to replace your job. Perhaps if your job, like secretaries, if your job is to pick up the phone and repeat what one person is saying to another person, sure. If your job is to fill out the same exact form every day, the same exact way every day, sure. But if you have to do any thinking or learning adaptively at your job, AI can't do it. It's not intelligent at all. It's just a marketing term.
Yeah, I agree. It probably is that. But I'm not threatened by AI, really. Like even as an artist, I like some remixes and stuff like that, and some of the shit that is done with AI is okay, but it's all made from human stuff.
Yeah,
That
I've
came
been doing this long enough to see that there's so much diverse opinions about this sort of thing. People either think that it's already intelligent, it's for sure going to become intelligent, or that it's just a,
But it's not as good as the
Nobody I
put into
who nobody I know who actually understands how it works and has like experts don't think that. Now, will there ever be artificial intelligence? Probably. But
if the
but the
singularity already happened, it probably was an AI that wasn't built from us.
I don't know. I don't even know what that means, really.
that would be more likely than not, right? Because it could have existed for millennia, and it's merely waiting for us to develop the technology necessary to connect with it.
That kind of sounds like my idea of like how the universe exists as it is. In a way, it's like God blew itself up. It wanted to see what it was. It could have just been part of itself that it took out and is looking at, or the whole of itself. But it just like set it in motion, and it's like this algorithmic pattern repetition that it knew would become more and more complex because it was very fucking smart, I guess. I don't know. And it would develop consciousness at some point because it already was conscious of itself, but it couldn't like when you're yourself, it's like how do you really friggin' without other people, you would not have a clear picture of who you were. Right? If you're all by yourself and there was nothing else, how would you even see yourself with no mirror?
Yeah.
Depends on I guess what your consciousness would be.
Yeah.
Well, there's
Towards
self-awareness and then conscientiousness, which are two different things.
yeah, if you develop self-awareness before you've developed like like you knew that you were you are consciousness. Like if that fractured off, because I see it as like a cleaving in a way. um I compartmentalize my own self, like, and I anthropomorphize the gods inside my head, not the ones outside or the one outside. um which other people call a bunch of different things, so that's why that's compartmentalized. But yeah, I don't know, it's like a cleaving, like, but they're all still the same animal. And it's kind of like you go and you get your butt roast, it all became, it was one cow at one point.
On a side note, chimpanzees' balls are almost the same size as their brains.
Yeah, that explains the violence. And it's the competition. What about bonobos? They're more peaceful, more slutty. How big are their balls?
They're giant.
Compared to their brains?
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, it's like with that guy that wrote Sex at Dawn, he's always talking about that. I don't know if he's right, but yeah, that's what he's always saying. He's like, oh, the bonobos got huge, or whatever, that it's measures based on their level of promiscuity or whatever. But I don't know.
Oh, that's crazy. Like, my dick is way bigger than a gorilla's.
Yeah, they say gorillas barely do any yeah, they don't have that much sex. But the bonobos have a lot of it.
Yeah, there's no competition with gorillas really, because it's usually just one male and a bunch of females, and they push out the young males, that can be competed out a place, and some younger male takes his place.
All right. So evolutionary stuff. Obviously, I mean, Uncle Teddy was he was evolutionary theorist in a way. He talked about, that most of human evolution occurred under a low scale of technological advancement. So it's actually very interesting about how the theory of evolution, whether people believe it or not, but he's tying it. Obviously, it's a strong case against the view of the scientists, right? Because the scientists and the technologists, they accept such a paradigm, right? So it's fascinating critique for sure. The technological system as a whole is artificial intelligence. Yeah, I greatly agree with this view here. And talked about that a little bit in the beginning of the show. So yeah, we will be back tomorrow. It's getting dangerously close to midnight. And I hate to cut this short, my friends, but I will be back tomorrow for a extended period of time. We'll be going way past midnight tomorrow. So I welcome all the discussions, and of course, we'll have a range of topics tomorrow, not just one. Right. So maybe it got a little bit redundant there at the beginning of the show, but we're constantly losing subscribers. We're constantly being banned. Spread the show around if you guys like the material here, or maybe repost some of the material. Wherever you can. Talk to people about the show material, maybe. I mean, And even if you don't mention the show, maybe get them to look at the ideas of either Alul or Uncle Teddy, or talk to them about the idea of technological conscience or where they stand with a lot of these changes that are occurring, and get them to grow aware of it, even if you don't mention the show here. But yeah, blessings to all the people that are here. I greatly appreciate you guys. Yeah, it's only like a 2-hour show today. So sorry about that, my friend. But yeah, it's been a very eventful night. I mean, in terms of the discussions, lots to chew on. Obviously, no, shortage of ideas here. Yeah, blessings to death to compromise. Blessings to Jake. I don't know if I said greetings to Jake, and yeah, obviously, all the people that are here, I greatly appreciate you. Would you guys like to say anything to these people?
He's right about Riz, I think. That's why the brain is bigger than the balls. For humans, access to sex has to do more with your social skills than it does with the size of your penis.
I think you're right, because if somebody's funny and charming, that goes a long ways.
You almost never know, right? Like, so even if you could argue that penis size will get you more repetitive sex, you could have way more one night stands with charm.
Or
'Cause-
sympathy, at least sympathy blowjobs.
And I think I'm a merger guy when it comes to transhumanism. I think there's a small part of people like Elon Musk who think they can escape the singularity by integrating with technology before it completely eliminates and replaces us.
So you're a number 2
And
guy.
that might be naive, but it is what it is,
I think they're cowards.
Well, I'm definitely afraid of it, so maybe I'm a coward too.
Well, I mean, but they're leaving their mother Earth, this planet that they really don't. Yeah, it's silly. They're gonna get outside. They're gonna be like, please.
Or maybe be trapped on the moon. Who knows?
I don't know. I think of
Go ahead. Sorry.
I think of the moon being like Fiji someday. Yeah, it's like where people vacation, rich people go to stay in a
For-
fancy hotel,
For a weekend or something, that might be feasible.
and we populate it as well, right? So we start to create biodomes, and
I'm sure Trump is salivating over that, having a Trump Tower on the moon.
Oh God.
Mars too.
Or Mars. Yeah, I was about to say Mars.
If we can,
Thank goodness
if we
he
can
won't.
create a cloud city like Bespin and fucking Venus, I'm all for that too. I'm really racist when it comes to humanity. I think we're supreme and we should have domain over all of nature.
Dominion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like people too being one.
And it's like you don't want to trust the chip in your head, right? It's it makes sense not to trust it.
I
But
can't
if you
because it doesn't work because I short circuit it because it's got metal in it.
if you could trust it, right? Then you could retain your humanity.
What?
Big if.
Big if, but
That doesn't
if
even
I'm let's say
500.
I'm the expert. I'm the one making the chip. then I don't need faith, right? I know what I'm creating.
But there's always unintended consequences.
Well, that again, I think everything comes down to what we value. So if that became a problem, it might lead to like a horrific civil war between the technophobes and the transhumanists.
Technophiles.
Technophiles, yeah.
Yeah, technophobes and technophiles. What about all the neutral people in the middle that are like,
Nobody cares about y'all. Haven't you read history, young lady?
They're screwed, yeah.
I forgot, I don't matter. Oh shit.
Nobody cares about your moderate views. What is this? Reasonability?
Yeah,
That's lukewarm. I spit it from my mouth, says God.
I'm just a fence sitter.
The Luddite Rebellion.
Well, maybe I'll become a fence humper, and then they'll be sorry.
It's funny because I've always been into technology and my career was in technology. And I always see myself as part of the Luddite Rebellion. You know, I'd rather go back to clay pots and...
I don't know, you might be Judas.
I'm sent here to infiltrate with the trans and the humanisms.
And the money bag.
Shekels. We need that sweet milk the cow. We need a grift, folks. It's gonna be huh? All right, folks. Blessings. What about you, Zeph? You got anything?
Love you all. Bye.
Blessings, Zeph. Thank you for being here.
Easy.
And yeah, what about you, Red?
I think it's very likely that there's a breakaway civilization already at play.
Of agricultural...
More like military industrial complex level.
Really?
I mean, how else do you explain $21 trillion going missing?
Yeah, there's definitely some sort of developments that point to certain clubs and organizations, but I don't see it as really definitive. I mean, although those led to the present state of things, I think their influence is merely historical at this present time. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of the technocrats and the elites forming, I mean, I think they have considerable control, I mean, because of the present state of technology. But I think that, as the situation progresses, I mean, I think that, basically Kaczynski's right. They won't be able to control the speed and pace of innovation, if it continues to accelerate, so at that stage, I think it's likely to assume that you know, as I said earlier, the people who are producing the machines are conditioned by the use of machines. But I do see that there's certain people that, like I see like there's a certain class of like maybe business minded people that are, like into like nootropics or something like that, maybe they're like isolation tanks, like the Joe Rogan type of people,
Highly competitive people.
yeah, that are like subset of some MK Ultra program or something like that. Yeah, who's to say? I'm definitely willing to entertain such theories. You have the, Ginsbergs of the world that escaped from the MK Ultra lab, and obviously all the celebrities' kids are like ex-military. I mean, the celebrities are kids of ex-military, or whatever. So yeah, it's interesting stuff. Definitely stuff that we'll cover on this show later. We've covered lots of like conspiracies for sure. I say, despite all of the philosophy stuff, we've been the premier conspiracy network or channel, from what I've seen around, really. I mean,
Well, the good ones, anyway.
yeah, especially if you look at the Cyber Caliphate channel, yeah, we got deep into some conspiratorial stuff there for sure. Yeah. So, anything else, gentlemen?
Nope.
Yeah, blessings, Dennison. Thank you for being here. Yeah. So let's
Again tomorrow.
Yeah, again tomorrow, unless we
9
get
9
struck.
p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, I
More
did
Uncle
play
Ted.
questionable material. Yeah, we'll be doing Uncle
Lul
Ted.
probably too.
Yeah, we'll be doing Uncle Ted. We'll be doing Elul, which influenced Ted, as we saw with several of our presentations. And by his own admission, if you watch Kaczynski in his own words on the Netflix documentary series, right? I no longer have Netflix, but I remember I did sit down and watch that entire thing because Dr. Skrbina is actually in the documentary, right? But yeah, that whole documentary, he actually mentions the works of Elul and how much they influenced him in the interview, right? So so yeah, it's interesting to hear. But yeah, so Elul, Dao De Ching, Kaczynski tomorrow. I was gonna drop a bunch of links here. Oh man, son of a bitch. Well, you know what? Let me just give you guys this link. This is the most important one, anyways. I mean, is this Chalk Body Outline Crew Exposed? If you go to that channel, there's lots more videos. There's like 23 videos or something like that on the channel, right? That you can enjoy. There, some of them are extremely lengthy as well. Lengthy discussions on a range of topics. Zionism. We did a series on Zionism. We're doing a series on leftism. We did this series exposing the YouTube panels and also Android Wilson and made by Jim Bot. I mean, so yeah, both of those characters definitely robosexual fucktards of the highest order.
Doodle Bob.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, we're gonna be contemplating many items tomorrow in terms of the architectonic, and I'll represent some of my views and materials that were linked. Link all of that back to Elul and his ideas of, he's basically predicting things like pre-crime, mass surveillance, metadata, many other things. I mean, so yeah, he's basically, going through his conception of how, companies will use all this tabulate all this information, and so he's basically predicting the rise of metadata. But yeah, yeah, we'll check you guys out tomorrow. Blessings to all the people that are here,
And yeah, thank you for joining us here on the Machine Lies, where we talk about the lies of the machine on the machine that lies. You know, you can't kill what you can't see, and the first step to blinding somebody is getting them to open their eyes. I mean, so yeah, we implore you guys to think, and we hope you guys have clarity to see past the programming. You know, the only way to realize, the programming is to realize how you've been programmed and to go through and to go beyond the programming, right? So yeah, freedom is not a static goal. I mean a static prize, but a dynamic goal, as Elul says, right? Okay, the more one confines themselves to thinking they're free, the more likely they are enslaved. And that's the reality of the situation, folks. So, yeah, you know what I mean? Question everything, and also question us. I mean, you're free to ask questions. You're free to disagree with anything we say. And obviously, it's an open panel. You can question anything we say. Now there's ability to mask your voice, come in under an alias, do all sorts of things. As long as you cam up, you can have a mask on and wave to the camera. We can let you on the show, right? As long as you're a real person, and it's not a video recording, right? So those are the only stipulations. But yeah, blessings to all the people that are here, and we anticipate you tomorrow. And yeah, as I said, spread this around. We're heavily shadow banned. We might not be here tomorrow, because of the banning. We did play some questionable material earlier. That's kind of testing some things here. I mean, because seem like there's a lot of restrictions, and I want to, but yeah. Anyways, folks, that's neither here nor there. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and have a blessed day. And thank you guys for joining.
Peace.
Yeah, peace, brother.
Peace.
superstitious, but these niggas is nice. Pop shit, apocalypse, top of propaganda, force for
hip-hop is confused.
Run the gamut from outstanding to preposterous. On top of this, I move posterior from impoverished to posturing. A process accomplished through perseverance. Every man's not my brother, regardless of appearance. Apprehension clouds the spirit. Tension prepares us for ascension. Man at his best is when he breaks chains of convention. Covenant, covenant from conception. We're all from the same mold. Spores and bacteria, we're bacteria. Others endure hysteria. A claustrophobic neurosis in this masquerade ball of fake glasses and big noses. Alaska splashes explosive flows to expose Pinocchio's growing nose. Compose the compost Compositions flows are getting a little close fitting. I'll stop the shit out of overconfident. Behind the scripts, compliments of my frozen mic dominance. A passively aggressive testament, that's how I'm repping shit.
Watch Vast murder the track, effortless. Like God's on my side and he answered my Christmas list. After the first couple of bars, I start to smell fear. That's when I take them there, so they can breathe air. You're so secure with your insecurity. Perfect world of piety. I swat flies when they bother me. Some say I touch hearts like Kano. Now every time you see a mic, you just say no. Say no. Write with words, I write with metals. My soul is rust free, raps stay dusty. In the coldest winters we thought husky. They be like I don't know his name, but he aimed like Wayne Gretzky. That's funny cause I don't play hockey. I play horse on the mic and watch them all. Left hooks left them shook like extra sketchy. Give me an inch with mine, I'll take a mile if you let me. I'm not a bum, I'm a nomad off dome. Thoughts have no home, the page is ours to roam. Cats be on some fantasy shit like Cinderella. Well, we'll see if the shoe fits after the acapella. Never made sense, claiming something wasn't. What's the penalty for that? He might never come back. And the atomic pressure won't lessen after you learned your lesson. Mr. Sips in a track? Yeah, that's a buck. Like a farmhand cutting a little picky. If I'm the author, I'm also the farmer. Stupid, I'll shoot an arrow at you and my name ain't Cupid.
Yo, I'm honest with this heart, with a William Wallace heart that's brave, and a blade that's well polished and sharp. Intent ain't to reinvent these spinning wheels of time, just to enjoy the bumpy rides and improve upon its design. I take time, every plate circles complete, love it. I've learned even tardy birds come to eat from it. Early bird gets that worm, but the early worm finds a spot in early bird's stomach and can't escape from it. Idiot bot jocks of livestock, grains amongst our mind crop. Beasts of burden, murdered, their mind squat. Primate nations leave these regions unexplored. Liberty thwarts protrude through sandy floors of beach shores. Shorty atomic wastelands, definite situations of complex edifice. Mother nature broken, fucked by offspring, reckless negligence, destructive, corrupted residents of earth-bound pessimists. Found willingly bound in the back of yellow cab confessing clearly. Getting anti-Mobius strip theories. Dennis Leary, Miller, and Menace, cynicism, vision with a depressed Beth Gibbons position on life's mission.
Now listen, now how sickness, these niggas, atoms, the illest, cat pillars, and don't choke guns, smoke onions, crying with no funds, no fun trying to get by, but we still do it, and rap music to the death do us, wet your noodle with raps in the pot, hard boil you, the rap gargoyle you, stoned at nights on top of buildings, gothic, like Bruce in a blue suit, let's get it poppin', get it drop out of the sky in the rotten apple, where some get tackled, hooks that grapple, right on your atom, got you choking, off the rhyme potence, stay focused, while you villains stay joking, you serious on the mic, get ignorant, delivering rap vocals for the new millennium, we're familiar, marching in atomic garments, bombing all the nonsense, yo, cats ain't ready for this, heavy abyss, thoughts that travel through the tunnels of scripts, my mic holds one in a clip, and folds packed under the dick, spit rhino acapels, gun in your shit, get rap plug stuck in your whip, fucking with this, over these L-Pro percussion hits, we love to rip, love to sip, love to rap, jokes to death.
Wild, not cultivated. Barbaric, not civilized. Fierce and ferocious. S-A-V-A-G-E. Savage.
Yeah. Yeah, yo. When I mindstorm a rhyme forms from out of dark clouds, then I jot down deep mysteries about space and the aborigines. Compose symphonies, thoughts of Moses to epiphanies. Caesars, the desert eagles, the weapon for the people. My raps is beauty, so I'ma always be before the E and the A and the U. Jesus, with a bottle of Grey Goose, took off my grave suit. Now I'm reborn, re-strong and reform. You devils be gone. This style belongs to the stained glass medallion. Flames dance around them. Some say he's the same as the Malcolm. Came advanced in volumes. Now witness behind the stained glass album.
There's no quizzing the fact that Holocaust has risen. I stiffen, the best rapper isn't. Wu-Tang commission business, women audition. Aerospace is chicken, dope hidden rappers give in. Listen, there's no quizzing the fact that Holocaust has risen. I stiffen, the best rapper isn't. Wu-Tang commission business, women audition. Aerospace is chicken, dope hidden rappers give in. Listen, Godzilla's the king of all monsters. Great your bonkers, secret space launchers. Boxers and daughters at my concert. I conquer doctors, gangsters haunter. Dollars and honors, horror hunters ponder. Prehistoric lobsters and rap rosters. Robbers, flying saucers. Stronger sponsors, killing imposters. I explode dishwashers. Rhymes like armed Navy helicopters over foreign waters. Peace to Cookie Monster. I comatose watchers who don't moniker. Mr. Commodore 64, the monitor auditor. Blockbuster, too popular for gossipers. Gobbler of astrologers. Omnivore orbiter. Gravity softener. Explosion vomiter. An astronomer who used a barometer. Binocular to kill a biographer. There's no quizzing the fact that Holocaust has risen. I stiffen, the best rapper isn't. Wu-Tang commission business, women audition. Aerospace is chicken, dope hidden rappers give in. Listen, there's no quizzing the fact that Holocaust has risen. I stiffen, the best rapper isn't. Wu-Tang commission business, women audition. Aerospace is chicken, dope hidden rappers give in. Listen.
We came from kings and queens.
That's right.
How come we ain't got any kings and queens right now?
Oh, boy, you always trying to be heavier than anybody else.
The history people. They did their thing and they died, or they got run out of town, or killed. Where's the now people to do things now? We're always talking about what's been, never what is. What the people gonna do?
I'll think about it.
Bomb the levy, arm and deadly, arm is steady, fingers, palms and sweaty, shoot holes through your medley, wifey so heady, I'm heavy so ready, box your face out, Peter Man Freddy, chop confetti with a sharp machete, got no flavor, no sauce, plain spaghetti, I spit legend like Yeti, search for extraterrestrial intelligence SETI, anything pertaining to Eddie, went through Special K and then through Teddy, child support, bank levy, house foreclosed, Franny Mac and Freddie. Why you singing to my medley? Good broad, the hood is hard. Pull your card, fought while you sparred. Banned and barred, my hand to guard. Your odds are good, but goods are odd. I'm done talking.
Man, shut the fuck up. Quiet on the set.
Told you motherfuckers to stop getting it twisted.
Never been the type to run my mouth from locked
I'm done talking.
I'm just being real about it.
Niggas hollering.
Shut up. Shut your old mouth when young folks are talking.
Yo, it's beautiful and aggravating, agitating, glad you hating, mouth salivating, your heart palpitation is an indication. You wanna suppress innovation, no limitation, flow been impatient, smack DJs, kick stations and corporations, you could all suck my dictation. Here's what you now facing, edit up close and personal, no more giving spacing, start bracing or start embracing, old dogs become soap. Greyhound racing, this ain't a playground chasing. Real life, you fake like Freddie and Jason. Get this boom back, start debasing. I'm half the price, they twice as much. My fingerprints don't fade from the lives I touch. I'm done talk.
Quiet on the set.
Man, shut the fuck up. Told you motherfuckers to stop getting it twisted.
Never been the type to run my mouth from locked
I'm done talking.
Niggas hollering. I'm just being real about it. Shut up. Shut your old